Check, check. Hey everybody. It's let's see, 11:27 p.m. on April 4th, and we had a slightly unexpected severe thunderstorm warning come out down here in Alabama. Looks like they've updated it now, but before the severe thunderstorm warning was actually stating that it was triggered by a report to Emergency Management Agency in Scottsboro, Alabama. We have some 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, and looking over here on the right side of the radar, we see some of these brighter reds, and that's going to be where those winds are pushing out. I wanted to jump up and address this. And then keep an eye on it. I want to say that I don't see any rotation or any threat of a tornado or anything like that. It's just kind of this top portion of this storm. If we can go over to the regular full radar. We can see this storm, and we're getting a new scan from the radar here. Okay, so this section of the storm right here is kind of pushing up. You see this kind of rounded portion. And this is where these winds are pushing. It's right at the top of this line of storms. Headed in the direction of Trenton, Bryant, Alabama, then up towards Nickajack Lake in Tennessee. And if we back off a little bit, we can see how this has moved. Oh, hold on, it's got to update. And yes, I know my camera is not working on here. That's fine. I didn't want to sit there and fool with it. When we get a second, I may play with it a little bit. Looks like those winds have possibly backed off a little bit. We just have a special weather statement over here in Georgia. And it's stating a 40 to 50 mile per hour wind. There's a lot of thunder and lightning with this storm. Again, it says that wind has backed down from the 58 mile per hour threshold to 40 to 50 mile per hour winds. I just wanted to jump on here. And no, it's not more severe than previously thought. This popped up kind of out of, I don't want to say out of nowhere. Storms were expected tonight. They weren't really expected to be severe. This is kind of an anomalous storm from what we really were seeing. Originally, things were showing this line of storms down here extending further up towards Chattanooga and then making its way across more. So, well, that's not happening. The reason why we have this little bubble right here, we didn't get that development further north, but we still have, you know, an atmosphere that will support this storm. And so it's kind of pushing its way up into some of that energy. And that's what's causing the severe thunderstorm warning. Again, I'll say this if you're just joining in. I don't see any threat of a tornado or anything like that. We just had a report of some storm damage down in Scottsboro by their emergency management agency in that area. Um, a lot of times, what we see on these severe thunderstorm warnings is it's radar indicated, uh, and sometimes that's what I have to sit here and interpret is what the radar is showing versus what's really happening. Well, this one was posted out because of some wind gusts that caused some damage down in Scottsboro, Alabama. Those gusts evidently affected some power lines. We are having some people ask the question about what time, so here let me go ahead and show that just so people can know what time to expect for different areas. Let me make sure my settings are good. 40 mile per hour, custom draw time. Do a 5-minute shade. Kind of draw this bubble here. And then we're going to extend that out. Pull up that timing list. I'm going to kind of leave this up for a minute so people can take a look and see. This is all in local time, so you'll see these times kind of jump around. Just make sure for your area you're seeing, Eastern time versus Central time. Oh, let's update this because we just got another scan. So I apologize if that kind of popped on and then popped back off. Again, as we kind of jumped into this, it looks like those winds have probably backed off a little bit as we don't have a severe thunderstorm warning continuing to update as we move into Georgia. But this storm, sometimes we have severe thunderstorm warnings. Sometimes we have storms that are right on the edge. And I'll say, we don't have severe thunderstorm warnings and people complain of, oh, the wind outside is very strong. That's good information, and I appreciate that information. It helps to kind of pinpoint what's going on. When this comes through, even if there's a severe thunderstorm warning, you're probably going to hear that wind kind of blow against your house, and it's going to sound ominous out there. So heads up on that. And we're looking at saying around midnight for the Chattanooga area, Rossville area, 11:55 p.m. for Lookout Mountain, Trenton in just a couple of minutes, Eastridge a little bit after midnight, Red Bank, Collegedale. As we move towards Collegedale and Ooltewah, we're looking at like 12:20, 12:25. And then continuing on to Cleveland around 12:40. So again, if you're just joining in, because of the storm damage report from Scottsboro, Alabama, I wanted to pull this up on the radar, take a quick look at it, see if it was going to continue to push stronger winds. And as it looks, if it's not still pushing those stronger winds, it's still going to be gusty. So just make sure you kind of stay clear of, anything that can be blown around if you're out enjoying a nice Saturday night. Maybe plan for, around these times to be inside, stay inside, not leave wherever you're at. Got a question about Lafayette. So I will say, outside of what we're seeing here on the radar as far as this timing goes, to zoom out, we are going to see some other storms head through. None of these have any indication of being anything severe. It's going to rain. It's going to rain pretty good for probably about 15 minutes, and then it's going to back off. You may hear a little bit of wind gust come across, but nothing severe. So Lafayette, you're one of those areas. It looks like there's kind of a gap, some weaker area headed towards Lafayette. So we'd say probably around midnight for Lafayette as well, but not in that storm that triggered that severe thunderstorm warning. Speaking of that severe thunderstorm warning, it has now expired and we have no severe thunderstorm warnings. So it's calmed down. There's not anything at the moment pushing a warning. We are seeing that larger bubble kind of reduce down into more of a straighter line at this edge where we have this kind of wrapped around top. As it pushes up, we have some of this energy pushing against some fresh atmosphere. So I probably won't be hanging out on here for long, but I'm going to keep an eye on it as it moves through. If it forms a nice, more solid structure and I don't see things pushing out, trying to push its way past the main line of storms, then we'll just kind of keep an eye on it and then jump off and get some rest for Easter. Down a little bit further south, heading into Cedar Bluff area, center Alabama, making its way over towards Summerville, we are seeing some gusty winds. It's got an advisory on it, wind gusts up to 40, so that's not severe, but it's enough to kind of put up. So it's called a special weather statement. It's not a severe thunderstorm statement or anything like that. It's just kind of a, hey, heads up, this storm's got a little bit of heft to it. Let's keep an eye on it. All right, let's see if I missed any questions up here. Yeah, so I actually got to bed fairly early tonight, just in case if this started to kick up, so that way I could jump up and take a look at it. And I have I guess you can call it a wall or a barrier of areas that are set up to kind of wake me up in advance, notice in case if something pops up while I'm asleep at any point in time, and I need to address it. And that kind of is what happened tonight. I got to bed a little early. This popped me up. I got as much information as I could out on an initial post and then jumped up to check it out. So that storm's moving through Trenton right now. A little stormy, thunder and lightning, but nothing too severe. Like I say, you'll probably hear wind blow across your house. May sound a little threatening for a minute, but we're beneath that 58 mile per hour gust threshold. Let's take a look and see over here. Those brighter reds are starting to become, less apparent. We have some radar indicated winds around 35, 40 miles per hour. So we are not seeing those around 60 miles per hour anymore. So the storm, I'm not going to say it's weakening, it's getting a better structure and you don't have these big winds popping up out of it. So for Athens, Tennessee, this is going to be much later. Here, let's see the way this storm's moving now. This radar returns are bouncing around a little bit. Athens, I don't really know if the storm's really going to make its way towards you. It might brush against you on the south side of Athens. So we have this section is kind of moving across and pushing over. So let's do this. Let's say right there, that's moving that direction. So like I said, just from a glance, it looks like this may just kind of brush Athens, this windy section. It's about 73 miles away from where you are. So, oh wait, hold on. I just did a line. I didn't go to Athens, so let me pick that back up. Athens, where did you go on my map? Right there. About 63 miles away from the Athens area. So I would say probably 12:45 a.m. for you, for the storm to make its way into your area. Because this thing's moving around 40 miles per hour. So let's get rid of that. And we do have a newer weather statement for Hamilton County and some of Marion County. And we're still seeing wind gusts up to 40 miles per hour, which is good. Looks like according to the National Weather Service, they're seeing these winds stay more calm too. We're getting a more of a defined line in this storm. Click out of this area. Okay, there we go. So to zoom in, we're seeing this line kind of solidify. That does not mean that the winds are weakening, but taking what I know and running it through my brain, I'm seeing this structure build a little bit more solid, which means we don't have as much of a chance of the section pushing out and causing those winds like it did earlier. It does not mean it's not possible, but like I say, it's kind of extracting information from what the radar is showing and what my instinct is telling me. And also, if you're just joining in, I'm having issues with my camera software. I'm not sure why, but it is not showing my camera. I'm not too worried about it. I'll give y'all a break from having to look at my face for one night. So let's see, we have a question. If the bowing on the front is concerning. So it is one feature that we look out for a lot of different reasons. In this instance right now, no, it's not concerning. It's not a bow that would really tell me that there's any sort of rotation or anything like that. It's kind of a messy radar image, but I'm not seeing much characteristic. I don't see within this segment where that front is, I'm not really seeing any defined rotation. We're actually going to move for that to the relative velocity. Yeah, so we have this little feature that runs along here. If you're familiar with radar, you're probably looking at some of this and saying, oh, you know, different colors mean different directions. But we also have to remember that that's all in relation to the radar right here. So, you know, we kind of look at this line and we can tell, okay, so that's not rotation that we're seeing in the storm. That's just, it's moving different direction in relation to the radar. So, again, you know, the risk with this bow is just the fact that it's set up in such a way where, you know, we might see a wind gust earlier. Here, let me go back. Oh. There we go. Let me draw back, let's say 30 frames. We're going to put it on just the radar, and you can kind of see this come up. And then you see this area kind of punching out from the main line right here. It kind of picks up a little bit of speed right around Scottsboro. Here, we're going to let it go one more time, and I'll pause it for a second. Okay, so right around Langston and northeast of Grant, Alabama, in this section right here, we see the storm's kind of pushing up a little bit faster as it makes its way towards Scottsboro, and that's as those winds were occurring. And then as it continued on, it kind of became more organized. When we see it moving at the same speed as the rest of the line of storms, that means we're losing that chance of those hard wind gusts, and what triggered that severe thunderstorm warning earlier. All right, so let's bring all this back in. Just hopped on any tornado risks? Absolutely not. And Carrie, I hope I answered your question well. That was a good question. Well, it's looking a little rainy. Nothing too bad. Watching from Dalton, it's raining hard in Dalton. Yeah, we have some heavier rain over in the Dalton area, but it's nothing like too stormy. It's just kind of like a rainstorm moving through. Now, as this does move closer to where we have more people involved on here, I will say that where you see some of these brighter and then darker reds, we're going to hear some thunder. It's going to be some little slightly gusty, stormy winds pushing against the house. Probably hear it blowing through the trees. It sounds kind of ominous. There may be a little bit of a tree falling here and there, but you don't have those winds pushing anything over. And again, if you're just kind of joining in, we had kind of a rounded off section that was pushing past, pushing a little bit faster than the rest of the storms. And we're just keeping an eye on it as this storm kind of builds more structure. This is becoming more stable as far as how it's built, and becoming more cohesive. It means that we're not having these segments push past it, causing those severe gusts. And since I am watching this segment, I'm going to put back up the storm timing just for those people that are just joining in. So take a look at that. Extend this out towards Athens, because we had that question earlier about Athens. So these times, luckily, they did some work with this piece of software, and we're able to show these times in local times. So if you are in central time zone, it will show that. And this storm's kind of making its way out of the central time zone area. So I don't know if we'll have any on this list. In Athens, it's saying around 1:18 a.m. since we had that question earlier. Let's see, got a question from Billy Huckabee asking if this is happening tonight. And yes, Billy, this is live as we speak. I always stamp these with the date, and I usually try and get the date and time on here, but I don't think I put in the time because I was looking at trying to get on here quickly in case if this storm increased in strength. I didn't think it was, but I wanted to make sure. And we have another radar update. Let's see how this thing's moving right along. I'm expecting it to be, yeah, not much change. Matter of fact, we're starting to see more and more of this top edge of the storm line up with the rest of it. And as that continues to kind of fold over, it'll kind of, you'll see this kind of slowly straighten out. As that happens, we have less chance of the severe gusts from that section. This is where things get kind of interesting. I don't want to say fun and interesting because a lot of people are afraid of storms, but it's where it gets a little bit more interesting to watch, where you have these interactions where the storm line is making its way through an area and you don't have development around the top, and then it starts to build. And then also sometimes you'll get some interesting features around the bottom of the line too. But you can see at the bottom of this line that's building here, we just got a lot of rain. It's sucking up that energy. So it's keeping it from being able to build stronger south of center Alabama down towards Cave Spring, Georgia. Billy came back with, is it headed to Rossville? Yeah, you're going to get, some stormy winds here in a little bit, but nothing that's considered severe at this point. Over at my house here in Appleton, I am hearing some rain come in. So, we have some segments, some oranges and some reds, some rain. Right here around the Tennessee, Georgia line towards Cohutta, we may hear a rumble of thunder. It's a good time to remind everybody that thunder does not mean there's a severe thunderstorm. You'll typically have thunder in a severe thunderstorm because you have all that activity building inside of it. You have friction with the rain and other components in the storm, and we start to build a charge, and that charge in the cloud discharges to the earth, and that's where lightning comes from. Whitwell will not see anything severe for tonight. Matter of fact, after this line pushes past, we're going to be good for the night. I'm not really seeing much of anything solid back here behind this line. Just have kind of general rain, maybe some heavier rain in some pockets, but this is all moving pretty well. We don't have a largely centralized point. It's not moving slowly, so I'm not really seeing any threats of flooding or anything like that. Slide on down. Downpour on Stanford Gap. Crystal, you don't live too far from me. Just to zoom into my neck of the woods. Yeah, you've got some nice rain coming down. Stanford Gap area, right there at the edge of Ooltewah, Collegedale, and Appleton. It's good sleeping sounds. You don't have to pay extra money tonight for like a sound machine, the electricity it'll use. Chickamauga, Georgia is fine. And really, without having to ask about your area, I am not seeing any severe hazards at the moment anywhere, but we're just keeping an eye out as this kind of bowed, rounded section of the storm continues to work its way over and become more in line. As that happens, those winds will continue to weaken, and it'll be more of just like a line of storms, not a line of severe storms. As that cooler air makes its way across. Let's go back and check on the winds. Let's see what we're seeing right now. Lookout Mountain, we'll start with you. So you're seeing some gusts around 29, 30 miles per hour. Maybe a couple places where it gets up to 35, 40. And again, that's why they issued the special weather statement. And it says exactly that. The hazard is wind gusts up to 40 miles per hour. We do have some possible pea-sized hail. Pea-sized hail doesn't really do much damage, if any at all. It's so small, and it's got some very small mass, and it just kind of falls and bounces off. It can be inconvenient or annoying if there's a lot of it, but I'm honestly not seeing many pockets of possibility where we are seeing that hail. Maybe right here around Chattanooga Valley, well, around more closely to Sinchat, and then possibly right here, Lookout Mountain, near the state line, kind of around Rock City. But again, that's just a small possibility, and if it is, it'll be brief and make its way in and out. And I'll say it again, we've had some more people pop in. I'm not seeing any hazards. We are seeing a couple of wind gusts, especially around the section from around Fort Oglethorpe, making its way towards the central area of Chattanooga, around I'd say around close to Hickson, the dam. Red Bank, you're probably going to see a little bit lighter of this. There were never any severe thunderstorm warnings for Tennessee. To touch back on my original post and when I jumped on here, the Emergency Management Agency down in Scottsboro, Alabama, encountered some lines down that were caused by some severe thunderstorm winds around 58 miles per hour. And so typically when you have an EMA issue something like that to the National Weather Service, you have an observation of damage. There possibly was a measurement by a storm spotter, or somebody was able to make these measurements in that area that works with public safety, fire, police. There may have been a weather station where they were able to make that storm wind report. So it did not come out in something indicated on the radar. It was experienced on the ground. And I take those a little bit more, with a little bit more depth, because, when power lines are down, and you have evidence of it. And that's why I like it when everybody comes in here and gives me an update of things in their area. It helps me kind of judge what's actually going on versus what we can see on the radar. And we do have some more folding over of that section of storms, which is great. It means that I'm going to go ahead and tell everybody that, hey, go to bed. If you can get some sleep, get some sleep. It's officially Easter. It's 12:01, so happy Easter, everybody. I'm going to stay here and keep an eye on things a little bit longer, just because I'm awake and I'm here and I like watching the radar. Yeah, Old Fort, you're gonna get some rain. A little bit later, nothing too crazy. It's gonna come in, it's gonna rain, maybe a gust or two of wind, and it's gonna be gone. And I don't see anything building behind this. We see some pockets of some heavier rain, but as we've had this kind of more organized line come through, it kind of sweeps up a lot of that energy and just leaves enough in the atmosphere for rain. We don't have the conditions that would cause rewarming or anything like that behind it tonight. I'm going to take the split screen back down. And zoom back in. Happy Easter to you, Aaron. Old Las Vegas is getting a lightning show. I'm jealous. As long as the thunder isn't too loud and doesn't wake up the kids, because then I have to deal with that. But I know all of you like to see the kids sometimes, so you'd probably enjoy it. We'll probably wait another one or two radar scans just to make sure that nothing's changing, and as far as changing towards the worse. And if everything seems pretty stable, we'll probably jump off of here, let it go, and we'll keep an eye as it makes its way through. And I shouldn't have to jump back on here, but if I see something kind of pop up, I'll be back. You have an advantage of me being involved with emergency services for so long over the years, because I can be awake when I need to be awake, and I'll sleep whenever I just get the chance to get it. While we're sitting here just keeping an eye for another couple of minutes, are there any questions, maybe with the storm, maybe in general, or something that's maybe not weather related? Taking all questions. This is usually where somebody like my dad pops in here and says, hey, if a train is traveling at 30 miles per hour, and no. I'm guessing he's asleep. Yeah, so we're still seeing this storm stay a little bit more stable with each scan as far as its formation. And we're seeing a more defined line. That means it's going to kind of pop in. It's going to be some heavy rain, maybe some thunder and lightning, and then it's going to pop right out. As that cooler air blows behind it, just pushes that warm air up. Good over the Blue Ridge area. Yeah, there's nothing in the Blue Ridge area to be concerned about. And that's probably a nice trip to be taking right now. Brittany asks, what's my prediction for the rest of tornado season? It's actually a good question. And I know I said that I would put out kind of a spring synopsis, and I haven't. I don't like putting out stuff when it's not solidified yet. And I'm keeping an eye. We're in a, I'm not going to say it's a rare occurrence with the Pacific Ocean. With, when we say things like El Nino and La Nina, Um, it's not rare, it does happen, but we don't hear about it as often. I call it a la nada, as in like the nothing. So El Nino means that the waters in the Pacific, kind of off the coast of the United States and Mexico, are warmer than average. And La Nada means they are cooler than average. Or I'm sorry, La Nina means they're cooler than average. La Nada means we're in the middle. We're average. It's where all the data of the past says the water kind of should be an average this time of year. And so, what does that mean for us? Well, it doesn't mean that it's going to be more stormy. It doesn't mean that it's going to be less stormy. It just formulates how the storms are going to come through. And it actually is beneficial to us as far as like severe weather goes. So instead of waves of storms coming through every week or so, like we've seen recently, we're going to have like periods of storms come through every couple of weeks. And that is a good thing. We don't have as much of a disorganized atmosphere. They tend to push through a lot more slowly. Um, so while we are still going to see storms, we're going to see less severe storms. And that should be through the entire spring season. Um, Now, less severe storms doesn't mean there aren't going to be any. There are going to be periods where I'm keeping an eye out, keeping a close watch on things. Um, right now, I don't see anything promising as far as future severe storms. We're kind of in our stormy period right now, and then we're going to get a break for a little while. Uh, and then we're going to have another night probably in a week and a half to 2 weeks where we'll probably deal with a couple of storms. I've seen a lot of potential as we're looking further out in time. Um, those further out scans are used to there being an El Nino or a La Nina that happens more often. So it's kind of expecting things to get to us a little bit stronger and a lot of how do I say this the right way? I don't want to generalize what I'm saying, but a lot of these accounts that are set up to make you worried and to scare you and get clicks and likes. They're like, "Oh, it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad." Well, the thing is, as we get closer in time and we get more accurate, things are calming down, things are drying out. We've had periods of these storms look pretty bad, 2 weeks out, and then those storms never actually make it to us at all, like not even any rain. So that's where having some history in the area and staying on top of things, comparing model runs and data from multiple sources. You can be certain when I put out information, I've probably looked through at least five and probably closer to 7 or 8 different sources and worked up, between the model and between what I know being familiar with the area. Went to the drag strip. Old Brainerd Optimist. Chastity, I bet that was fun. I used to be there a lot back in the day. I even as a kid, I did the go-kart drag racing league at Brainerd Optimist. I try to be a car guy. I just don't have the money for it. Well, I'll say that differently. I try to be a car guy. I just spend my money on my kids. Let's see. Sometimes I get questions on my phone and I kind of get locked in on the computer and never see those. Nope, nothing on here. And if you're just kind of joining in to kind of go over everything, we do have some potential for some light gusty winds. No severe thunderstorms. I don't foresee any severe thunderstorm warnings come out. We had a severe thunderstorm warning down in Alabama earlier uh, due to some observed damage from some power lines, but this storm has kind of gained some structure and all that energy is being spread out a little bit more. If you're just joining in, also, I will say there is no tornado threat for tonight. We are just looking out for some winds, and this storm should be in and out of areas pretty quickly. Yeah, so Chastity, I actually dated a girl back in high school whose grandfather ran out there, and so I spent a lot of time back then. And I like to go out every once in a while and just kind of watch everybody run, relive the older days. If I had money, I would definitely have a go fast car. But I don't have money. I appreciate that, Chastity, for the less scary. That's my whole point, is to give you all the real information with no scare tactics. And we did get an extension of this special weather statement out towards Cleveland. I'll look at it. I'll guarantee it's going to say possible 40-mile-per-hour gusts. And there it is. Hazard. Wind gusts up to 40 mile per hour and pea-size hail. So that's going unchanged. I don't see that changing. I'm going to animate the radar and just kind of see if I see anything sticking out, moving differently than the main line of storms. Just some good rain and some lightning. Lightning's kind of backing off. Got some lightning around Red Bank and Walden's Ridge. Probably going to be a couple of strikes down around Fort Oglethorpe. The lightning detection on here isn't the best. But I'm not too worried about lightning. Well, that's a shame that they canceled the sunrise service, but it is probably going to be pretty soupy wet out at the National Cemetery. Yes, this storm is the only threat tonight, Jessica, and I would not even call it a severe threat. The severe threat was down in Alabama. It was short-lived, and I don't see it gaining any strength. But yeah, Michelle, thanks for letting everybody know that sunrise service at the National Cemetery has been canceled for Easter. Sad to hear that. But also, I'm glad that they're taking good care of the grounds there, making sure it doesn't get muddied up from all the feet. Well, Patrick, if we can get some lightning passing through your area with the storm, it'll kind of ionize that pollen and other stuff in the air and make it fall to the ground. And maybe you still won't have to deal with washing your car. I know rain makes it a little dirty. Aaron, no snow for tonight, as far as I can tell. Wish I knew why my camera wasn't working right. Let me do something here. As IT always says, did you turn it off and back on? So I'm going to unplug it, plug it back in, see if that makes any change. Oh, we have camera. Now you get to look at my ugly mug until this is over. Move it down a little bit. Got unadjusted. And I know that it's kind of creating it's blocking everything out around my face because it is dark in here. Everybody's asleep and it's just me trying to keep from waking the whole house up. Well, it's kind of funny. I've got my camera working, but I'm also thinking that I'm going to go ahead and end this. We do have a lot of weakening of the line. We have a segment of some heavy rain moving from Lafayette up to Saudi Daisy area. It's just some heavier rain, gusty wind, maybe a rumble of thunder, and it'll be in and out pretty quick with some rain later on tonight. But that's about it. I hope everybody has a wonderful Easter. Oh, almost missed a question from Catherine. Catherine Hartman. Chatsworth is looking good and you can go to bed. You won't deal with any other storms. Madison said, so it's not going to be bad. That's correct. And that's fine. If you're just joining, I know that a lot of people pop in here at any time. So just to kind of refresh that, it's not going to be bad in any area tonight. It may sound windy outside. There may be, a small tree here or there blown over. But, sometimes trees fall when it's sunny outside. Okay, well, I hope everybody has a great night, and we will see you later.